Millionaire took in a single mom and her twins, but her jacket was from a mission no one survived. The night was freezing, the kind that makes the city feel cruel and silent. A black luxury car slowed near a bus stop where a tired woman stood holding two small children close. She wore a worn jacket that looked far too thin for the cold. The millionaire inside the car almost drove past her, until he noticed the patch on her sleeve. That patch belonged to a mission no one was supposed to come back from. What happened next would change 3 lives forever and remind everyone who hears this story that kindness often arrives before the truth does. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. It helps our channel, Kindness Story Hub, continue bringing you real, heartfelt stories that remind us there's still good in the world. And now, let me tell you the story. Ethan Cole was known across the city as a self-made millionaire. He owned real estate, tech investments, and had his name on buildings people walked past every day. To the public, he was confident, sharp, and distant. But what few knew was that Ethan lived alone in a large house that felt more like a hotel than a home. His wife had passed away years earlier, and they never had children. Since then, Ethan buried himself in work, donating money here and there but keeping his heart carefully guarded. Kindness, for him, had become something written on checks, not something personal. That night, Ethan was returning from a long meeting when he noticed the woman at the bus stop. The twins couldn't have been more than 5 years old. One was coughing softly. The other leaned against their mother, half asleep. Ethan told his driver to slow down. He didn't know why. Maybe it was the kids. Maybe it was the way the woman stood straight, even though she looked exhausted. He rolled down the window and asked if they were okay. The woman hesitated. Pride flickered across her face before reality won. She said her name was Anna. She had just been turned away from a shelter because it was full. The bus had stopped running hours ago. She said she'd figure something out. Ethan surprised himself by opening the car door. Please, he said gently. Let me help. At least for tonight. Anna studied him carefully. She wasn't reckless. But she was cold, her children were shaking, and something in Ethan's voice felt safe. After a long pause, she nodded. At Ethan's home, the twins stared wide-eyed at the warm lights and tall ceilings. Ethan's housekeeper quickly prepared food, blankets, and a guest room. The kids ate like they hadn't had a real meal in days. Ethan watched from a distance, unsure why his chest felt tight. Later that night, when the twins were asleep, Ethan noticed Anna's jacket hanging on a chair. It was old, faded, but clean. His eyes locked onto a familiar symbol stitched near the shoulder. His breath caught. He knew that symbol. Years ago, Ethan had funded a dangerous humanitarian rescue mission overseas. It was meant to evacuate civilians from a war zone. The mission failed. The team was ambushed. No one officially survived. The guilt of that failure had haunted Ethan ever since, and that jacket, there was no doubt about it, was from that mission. The next morning, Ethan asked Anna about it. She froze. Slowly, she sat down and took a deep breath. She said she hadn't planned to ever talk about it again. Anna explained that years earlier, she wasn't a refugee or a victim. She was a medic. She volunteered for dangerous missions because she believed helping others was worth the risk. She had been part of that very mission. When the attack happened, chaos erupted. Anna was injured and separated from the group. She survived by hiding for days, eventually escaping with help from locals. By the time she made it back, the mission had been declared a total loss. Officially, she didn't exist anymore. No recognition. No compensation. No support. She met her husband later, had twins, and tried to build a quiet life. But after he died suddenly, everything fell apart. Medical bills. Rent. Childcare. One bad month turned into many. Ethan listened in silence, his eyes wet. I funded that mission, he finally said. I thought everyone died. Anna looked at him, shocked. Then she smiled softly. You still saved lives, she said. Even if you never knew. That moment broke something open in Ethan. Over the following weeks, Ethan didn't just offer Anna a place to stay. He helped her find legal support to restore her identity. He covered childcare while she applied for work. He listened when she talked about fear, grief, and starting over. The twins slowly stopped flinching at loud sounds. They laughed more. One night, they asked Ethan if he would read them a story. He hadn't read a bedtime story in his life, but he said yes. Something changed in the house. It felt warmer. Lived in, Anna eventually found work at a local clinic. She insisted on moving out, not wanting to take advantage. Ethan helped her find a small apartment nearby. On moving day, Anna hugged him tightly. "You didn't just give us shelter," she said. "You gave us dignity." Months later, Ethan quietly created a foundation, not in his own name, but in honor of forgotten volunteers like Anna. People who served, survived, and were never seen. At the opening ceremony, Anna stood beside him with her twins. One of the kids tugged Ethan's hand and called him family. Ethan didn't correct them. With that night at home, Ethan realized something powerful. Kindness isn't about being rich or important. It's about noticing someone in the cold and choosing to stop. He thought he had rescued Anna and her children. But the truth was, they had rescued him too. If this story moved you, remember this: you may never know the full story behind someone's worn jacket or tired eyes. But one small act of kindness could change everything. Let's all try to be that kindness.